Ready. Play.
Jannik Sinner, Alexander Bublik is another match coming up on Thursday, also in Halle, that I think is of particular interest.
I have a tough opponent now also in the next round, as we know. He loves to play on grass, so
partly because of where we're at with Jannik Sinner, just coming off that French Open final, of course. We don't need to dwell on that too much, and I'm sure Jannik probably doesn't want to dwell on it, certainly not in a negative sense. At least he's had a match to get out of his system, winning in straight sets, albeit 2 tight sets today against Yannick Hanfmann.
First matches are never easy on grass. Obviously, matches are different than practice sessions, but all things considered, I think I was moving well. There was not so much rhythm at some point because we both tried to serve as good as we could. So also the chances were very low to break, and I just used my chances when I had them. And but again, this kind of matches, they can go in the distance. If I don't break him on 6-5, it's the tiebreak could go both ways potentially. So. I'm very happy.
Amusing moment that happened during that match when someone in the crowd shouted, "Come on, Jannik," before adding the fact that they meant, but I mean Hanfmann. It was quite funny. Anyway, but Jannik did come through that. Jannik Sinner, that is, in 2 straight sets. Yeah, he's going to come up against Bublik. It's a 4-1 head-to-head. I just think that maybe Jannik, in terms of the hangover that he might feel or have felt from Roland Garros, he might have just preferred another match before coming up against Bublik. Of course, they have played each other very, very, very recently in a match that was, well, Jannik Sinner won the first set 6-1, but it was close to being a bagel. It was one of those ones that happened 2 or 3 times in recent weeks where Jannik Sinner's opponent, got very happy at winning a game. But the second set was really fun, and Bublik actually doing what Bublik can do before running out of steam in the third set, 6-1, 7-5, 6-0, or 6-love that was. But the one match that Alexander Bublik has won against Jannik Sinner came on the grass in Halle. Asterisk alert, there was a retirement from Jannik in the second set in that particular encounter, but Bublik was up a set and a break at the time. So maybe there's something there for Alexander to clutch at.
Totally something for him. I think we're talking about like ideal conditions, right? For Bublik, I think this is probably one of, if not his favorite tournament, on the calendar. It's his favorite surface. It's the surface where he can perform to the best of his ability and even the playing field as much as possible. And yeah, I think it's also important to note, right? You mentioned it, probably a match too soon in terms of Sinner. Like, he doesn't want to see Bublik at this stage. And I feel like for Bublik, it's all about, his motivation level and his focus. And I was kind of interested in terms of seeing how he would play against Mueller in the first round, but it was kind of all gas, no brakes, serve quality at 9.3. No one was touching, his serving ability. I think Mueller got to 30 all once or twice in the whole match. It was a clean 4-4 win. So, I mean, all positive signs for Bublik going into this match, and it makes you think there's a chance, especially given how Jannik Hanfmann played today, right? He was able to bring his best tennis and should have gotten himself to a breaker, and kind of, who knows, was able to see a couple of break points throughout the match. And that's got to be good / telling signs if you're Bublik, right? Kind of licking your chops at this opportunity. So, look, I mean, setting the stage, it's ideal conditions, ideal opportunity for Bublik. I mean, we have to be reasonable, but there's definitely a chance.
That 2023 run in Halle, by the way, which obviously went on to see Bublik win the title, beating Andrei Rublev, funny enough, in the final. I say funny enough because at the time, there was a bit of a Halle curse where I think basically anyone that wasn't named Roger Federer would win Halle and then go out in the first round at Wimbledon a couple of weeks later. Well, Bublik well and truly broke that curse in 2023 after winning the title. I'm just sharing his run. His run in Halle, in the final, he beats Andrei Rublev. However, a few weeks later at SW19. That was an epic match actually between Rublev and Bublik. Rublik and Bublev. But it was an epic 5-setter that included 1 or 2 epic points that I'm sure many of our audience recall. But yeah, that was Bublik breaking the duck there. Is he gonna upset Jannik Sinner on the German turf again?
No, I don't think he is. But I feel like I can get at least one breaker out of him.
Yeah.
I'm more confident with him getting to a breaker than probably like 97% of the tour, right? It's kind of that situation for me. One lapse of focus though, right? One love 30 kind of situation, and that's kind of all Sinner needs to see to kind of lock in on a return game. So that's kind of the worrisome mentality, but
yeah,
you got to give, like, I'm giving him his fair shot.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's fascinating. It's a match that we'll tune in for. It's a match that we'll tune in for until Jannik goes up an early break or perhaps a double break or something like that. But until the match is sort of moving away from Bublik, even that one at the French Open, by the way, it wasn't until the second set was done that we all kind of switched off, and I think Alexander did too. I'm with you. I am going Jannik. I think if this had been 1 round earlier, you know, I think it would have been even more dangerous and catching Jannik cold, etc. And, you know, maybe not just cold, but just anxious, if you like. But I think now Jannik has at least got that win over and done with it. Now he will probably go on to extend his head-to-head advantage over Alexander to 5-1. Any final words on this match?
Yeah, I guess my final point is like the day off, I think, does help Sinner, right? It's your first match after, you know, losing the craziest match of your life, and you kind of get to breathe on it, get a practice session, have laughs, you know, have a kickabout, kind of ease the nerves. But you have to, because you do understand the rear view mirror, you have an absolute freight train coming at you, and Bublik's not going to make it easy, right? I think this is not the first time, but it's you know, really coming together for Bublik, both his tennis and his mental game. And I guess we don't have to include this in the preview, but like he signed up for clay events after Wimbledon. So you're just kind of seeing that. It feels like we're seeing a different mentality from Bublik, and that can only help him here in this match.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.